So I had this segment laid out where I was going to call out all of the people who are prolonging this pandemic with phony COVID cures and anti-vaccine garbage. I was going to talk about ex-football player and Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in Georgia, Herschel Walker, who raved about what he calls a dry mist that can kill COVID in an interview in 2020.
Do you know right now I have something that can bring you into a building that will clean you from COVID as you walk through this dry mist. As you walk through the door, it will kill any COVID on your body. EPA, FDA approved. When you leave, it will kill the virus as you leave this here product. Then I have something, you can go and spray down this product. Do you know they don't want to talk about that?
Maybe because it doesn't work. Now, I was going to point out that Walker was talking to right-wing personality Glenn Beck, who says he's unvaccinated and announced this past week that he has caught the virus for a second time.
It's now starting to go into my lungs today, and a little disturbing. But I'm on all the medication and treatment and everything else. But the monoclonal doesn't seem to be working for the new strain, and you can't. But I'm on ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, fluvoxin. I'm on a bunch of different, and my doctors are hitting it really hard.
I was going to say, Glenn, the I did my own research crowd has already moved on to Viagra. The ED medicine, which is made by Pfizer, also produces one of the COVID vaccines. Way to stick it to Big Pharma, I was going to say. And hey, why not mention the guy in Alabama telling people to drink their own urine to cure COVID?
The antidote that we've seen now, and we have tons and tons of research, is urine therapy. Okay? And I know to a lot of you this sounds crazy, but guys, God's given us everything we need.
Please don't do that either. All of this to reiterate the point, there are people out there trying to make a buck or find fame on the internet or do what we hear here in Washington so often, people fundraising for their political campaigns, a point raised by Dr. Anthony Fauci in his fiery exchange with Republican Senator Rand Paul last week.
What happens when he gets out and accuses me of things that are completely untrue is that all of a sudden that kindles the crazies out there, and I have threats upon my life, harassment of my family and my children with obscene phone calls because people are lying about me. So I ask myself, why would Senator want to do this? So go to Rand Paul website and you see Fire Dr. Fauci with a little box that says contribute here. You can do $5, $10, $20, $100. So you are making a catastrophic epidemic for your political gain.
And all of that fundraising may be great for your reelection, but it won't save lives. The vaccine will. But the war on science and our scientists and on the truth, it's killing us. I was going to get into all of that, and I suppose I just did. But something happened last Thursday afternoon that changed everything and served as a reminder of this ongoing war on our democracy, which is still in peril today. Thursday afternoon was when the Justice Department announced that the leader of the far-right group, the Oath Keepers, and 10 others had been charged with seditious conspiracy for their alleged actions on January 6th. The charging documents say the group's leader, Stewart Rhodes, told his followers to prepare for a bloody and desperate fight. Another defendant is accused of going on a recon mission to Washington just after the election. Federal investigators say some of those charged stockpiled weapons at a Virginia hotel and had a quick reaction force on standby with an arsenal in case the Oath Keepers needed backup at the Capitol. The group's goal, according to the Justice Department, was to stop the transfer of power to President Biden. Now, I've actually interviewed Rhodes before. Back in 2009, I did a profile on the Oath Keepers, and at the time, Rhodes said this about his organization.
Our role is not to be obedient to whoever happens to be the leader. Our role is to defend the Constitution and the Republic.
Is the Oath Keepers a militia group?
No, we don't need to be. We're the military and police.
Defend the Constitution and the Republic, he once told me. Doesn't look like that in the video from January 6th. Not a lot of oath keeping going on there. Now, Rhodes has been charged with seditious conspiracy. He has pleaded not guilty, but these new charges run counter to what Murdoch family court jester Tucker Carlson has been saying, that this wasn't an insurrection. Where are these sedition charges, he has asked.
Oh, it was an insurrection. So how many of the participants in that insurrection have been charged with insurrecting, with sedition, with treason? 0. By the Biden Justice Department. Said they've been charged with effectively trespassing.
I guess Tucker forgot about the previous court documents entered in the Oath Keepers case, showing what appears to be gun cases being moved around that hotel in Virginia. For tourists, it was a lot of luggage. Now, it should also be noted that the Oath Keepers were spotted hanging with Trump advisor Roger Stone outside the Willard Hotel on January 6th. That's the same Roger Stone, yes, who received a full pardon from Trump in December of 2020. Stone, who has denied any wrongdoing, told reporters last month he pleaded the Fifth to the January 6th committee.
In fulfillment of a federal subpoena, I did my civic duty and I responded as required by law. I did invoke my Fifth Amendment rights to every question.
And we're talking about the same Willard Hotel where Trump allies like John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, and others, according to the January 6th committee, were working on a plan to have then Vice President Mike Pence toss out the official electors that would make Biden president in favor of a different slate of electors that would have given Trump a second term. All of which brings me to one of the more stunning revelations that's come up, this one by American Oversight, involving Trump allies who sent phony documents, there they are, to the National Archives declaring that Trump won a bunch of key battleground states instead of Biden. Yes, that happened. The bogus documents appear to have been sent from local GOP operatives posing as electors in places like Pennsylvania and Arizona. To be clear, these documents are fake. Reporters in Arizona caught up with one of that state's GOP lawmakers, Jake Hoffman, who signed these documents posing as an alternate elector for Trump. We've also reached out to him for a comment, have not heard back, but here is how he explains it.
What authority did you find yourself as an elector?
So in unprecedented times, unprecedented action is occurred. There is no case law, there's no precedent that exists as to whether or not an election that is currently being litigated in the courts has due standing, which is why we felt it appropriate to provide Congress and the Vice President with dueling opinions.
Did you have direction from anybody in doing this? Was it you, Levin, yourself doing this, or did someone give you advice on the manner in which you can do it?
So I was one of the electors, right? I'm not in charge of the electors, so you would need
How
to...
did you hear about it?
You would need to ask the party chair that.
How did you hear about it? How did you hear about the plan? Were you just told to be someone?
You would need to ask the party chair that.
Phony electors, a fake cure for Trump's real election loss. Kind of like the ivermectin of our democracy. Back in December of 2020, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany told Fox the Trump team was serious about this idea of alternate electors.
The only metro areas where Joe Biden beat Hillary Clinton, ironically, in those states, there has been an alternate slate of electors voted upon that Congress will decide in January.
All of this raises a crucial question that's at the heart of everything. What exactly was Trump doing during the insurrection? He was letting it play out on TV, we know. One former White House official recently told me that. But Trump was also talking to people like GOP House Leader Kevin McCarthy, who at the time was urging Trump to call off the mob. McCarthy, who's made the choice to serve as Trump's lackey these days, announced he will not voluntarily cooperate with the January 6th committee. He hightailed it out of a news conference this past week after being pressed on how he once said he would cooperate. He just couldn't handle the questions. Just like Trump, who could not defend the big lie on national public radio.
How come when he went to speak in different locations, nobody came to watch, but all of a sudden he got 80 million votes? Nobody believes
if you'll forgive me, maybe because the election was about you. If I can just move on to ask, are you telling Republicans in 2022 that they must press your case on the past election in order to get your endorsement? Is that an absolute?
They're going to do whatever they want to do. People have no idea how big this issue is, and they don't want it to happen again. It shouldn't be allowed to happen, and they don't want it to happen again. And the only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr.
Steve,
President,
thank
if
you
I'm
very much. I
one more
appreciate it.
question. I want to ask about a court hearing yesterday on January 6th. Judge Amit Mehta, he's gone. Okay.
Yeah, he hung up. He hung up. That's because all of the lies are catching up with the Lord of the lies. Trump, his advisors, his allies in Congress and on conservative media, they are all drowning in Trump's swamp of lies. And that swamp is not draining. But there is a cure for what ails them and us and our democracy. It's called the truth. And while you're at it, get the Courage Booster. I hear that works too.